There's a lot of new cards from Doctor Who, but these are the only 10 you need to care about for Commander.
I'm Mia, and I like the crisp fall air.
I'm BZ, and that seems pretty good to me too. There's no B's, so that's great. And we're the Nitpicking Nerds. If you want to support us, you can support yourself at the same time by using our Dragon Shield links, EU or US. I would maybe say they have the best sleeves in the entire multiverse.
Good sleeves.
Also, we're sponsored by Moxfield. There's going to be an ad somewhere in the video that you won't be able to predict, so guess where it is now, but just be ready to fail.
We're also sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. You can use the code
Nerds
at checkout to save 5% on your entire order of Real People Money to dollars.
Those are Real People Money to dollars. That's exactly what Cool Stuff says. I can't think of a better way to put it. Also, happy birthday to everyone's birthdays today as we do all of our sponsors out of order. And we're going to get to the top 10 Commander cards from Doctor Who. Very straightforward. But first, a dishonorable mention. Everybody lives. It's 1 and a white for an instant. All creatures gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Players gain hexproof until end of turn. Players can't lose life this turn. And players can't lose the game or win the game this turn. I have no idea why this card is hyped or worth more than $5.
I've seen people saying that's going to reach 40 or something, and I disagree completely. I feel like, and I think BZ feels like too, that if you're building a deck, you should put in more pieces to actually win and further your game plan than to stop yourself from losing.
I almost feel like I'm missing something. Like, most of the time when you lose the game, you're just being attacked in casual formats, or in casual Commander. You're not, like, being targeted with door to nothingness like you like to do. That's not really happening, so it's not like, oh, I can't lose the game this turn. It's like, okay, well, losing life, but then it's a fog, and a lot of times, like, wouldn't a counterspell or like a Tail's End do the same thing as this card? I am so confused why everyone is like, let's put it on Isochron Scepter. It doesn't even help you that much. It's not like you can't lose until your next turn. You just can't lose this turn.
Yeah, I also don't get it because we're not playing Angel's Grace anywhere, and it's basically worse Angel's Grace, so I don't get what the big hype is. I think it's bad.
It's confusing. It's definitely confusing. But we'll go to the actual cards that we're excited about. Number 10 is Danny Pink. He's 3 to blue for a 4/3 with Mentor. So when he attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature with lesser power. And creatures you control have, quote, whenever one or more counters are put on this creature for the first time each turn, draw a card. This is, like, really good. I was really surprised that a companion had this line of text. And the more we thought about it after the ranking episode, the more I was like, wait a second, this is just sweet.
Yeah, having that card advantage in the command zone as the companion is really nice. And Simic counters are so easy to put on creatures that you can get multiple cards a turn, especially if you go wide.
I'm just looking at this as a 99 card. You just go, oh, like a Gavany Township effect. Draw a card for each creature you control, and then if you can somehow repeat it or move counters or something, it just gets out of hand really quick. And like Danny Pink, kind of a must-answer threat sometimes.
Yeah, I like the fact that it also puts the counters on it themselves, so it's not like you actively need another piece to put counters on.
You should have them, but in the event that you don't, he's like, no, I got you. Let me draw you a card.
Yeah, it's just nice to have something stapled on, just in case.
Yeah, Danny Pink came to play. What's number 9?
9 is bigger on the inside. 3 red-green for an enchantment that says enchant artifact or land. The enchanted permanent has tap it. Target player adds 2 mana of any one color. The next spell they cast this turn has Cascade. I think that's really fun. I love the idea of putting this on artifacts that untap themselves. Mm-hmm. And I think this can really get into some cool shenanigans, especially in Cascade decks or just randomness decks in general.
Yeah, it's a really expensive cost. You're probably not going to get blown out if you enchant a land. There's not a lot of that going around. There's like Beast Within, Generous Gift, Chaos Warp. That's about it. You can probably tell if somebody has the ability to cast those cards. I'm not too worried about that. In an artifact, though, definitely more of a chance to get blown out. What I probably want to do with this is put it on a land and have a card in play like Voyaging Satyr or something that can untap it. So you go, make 2 mana, untap it, make 2 mana. Now I have 4. Cast a 4-drop, Cascade twice. Sweet.
You copy Horseshoe Crab with Phyrexian Metamorph and kill. Oh, okay.
That's what you have to do. That's what you have to give Infinite Cascade and then cast like a 6-drop and just cast all your 5 drops for free.
Yeah, if you build your deck right, I guess you could go infinite and just vomit out your entire deck, but I think this is fun.
No, this is exciting. This is cool. I want to put this in my Cascade deck. It's like, or I think I also want to put this in like my budget red-green ramp deck. I think it's going to be potent while also being fun. It's not a miserable card. Definitely pick one up. Next, we got Bessie, the Doctor's Roadster. It's a 2-mana 3/4 vehicle with haste. When it attacks, another target legendary creature can't be blocked this turn, and it has crew too. So, like, kind of efficient. You know, you play it early, it doesn't matter. It sits there. You play it late, it has haste, so you can use it right away. It's kind of always there when you need to make your commander just smack in, like for Voltron.
The return of vehicles. I was surprised to see any in this, but it is really nice because it is colorless, so it can go into any Voltron deck, and 2 mana is not bad of a price to pay.
Yeah, mostly a Voltron deck. I like this better than some equipment. Like, I would rather play this than Whisper Silk Cloak, or like the 2 equipment that equips for 2 that gives non-basic landwalk. I think I'd rather have this. I don't know.
Yeah, vehicles are really hard to get rid of once they're on the field because most of the time people don't want to use target removal, minus if it's like Shurikai or something, because for some reason that always gets targeted by BZ to me.
Shurikai is not a vehicle. It is an abomination.
Like, I'm just saying. But it only folds to creature board wipes at instant speed because you're only crewing it when you need to attack with it.
Yeah, that's not really a thing.
So they're pretty sticky.
Yeah, they're pretty sticky. Let's go to number 7. What is it?
Number 7 is Cyberman Squadron. 7 mana for a 5/5. Non-legendary artifact creatures you control have Myriad. I think that's really fun, especially if you are making copies of things.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Legion's Loyalty, I think, is the 8 mana enchantment that gives all your creatures Myriad. This is just a strictly better version in the artifact deck. If you don't have legendary artifacts, then this is just the same card, and it can be cloned, and it has Myriad. If you have ways to make the token stick around, this thing goes off.
You could copy things with like Spark Double, make non-legendary copies, and then give those Myriad. That can get out of hand so quickly.
Yeah, then you're like making things that weren't even intended to have Myriad with this have Myriad. I want to just clone Cyberman Squadron because then your creatures have 2 instances of Myriad. How are you losing the game? I mean, the fact that this is an artifact also means it's a lot easier to reanimate than an enchantment that costs 8. So I really want to play around with this. I'm not sure what to do with it, but it looks really good.
I want to try and throw this into budget Alayla if it gets down to that price point.
That could be cool. Let's jump on up to number 6. It's the Great Intelligence's Plan. 4 blue-black for a sorcery. Draw 3 cards. Then target opponent faces a villainous choice. They discard 3 cards, or you may cast a spell from your hand without paying its mana cost. This card is really weird, and I had to read it like 3 times and really think about what this would look like on the stack, because if it's like 4 blue-black, draw 3, someone discards 3, I think that card's really bad. And that's like the worst. That's an option. So at first I was like, oh, this card sucks because they're just going to discard 3. But probably they're not going to discard 3. You choose the opponent, so you're going to choose the opponent with the least cards in hand. They face a villainous choice. Do they want to quit the game or give you a really huge bonus? Because when you draw 3, cast something for free, that's huge.
There's always going to be at least one player at the table who does not want their cards going to the graveyard, unlike BZ. So it's going to be like, oh, do I actually just want to lose these cards forever, basically?
Yeah, I think this card is actually pretty good. I think this looks really strong to me if you've got things to cheat out. Maybe like a Satoru deck or something, or even like Yuriko, where they just got giant spells at the top end. I don't know. Because I just think about, like, when in a Commander game are you like, yeah, I could afford to discard 3? Like, even though you discarding 3 could screw over the person casting this, it's not good for you if you're trying to win the game because you're down a lot of cards.
Yeah, it's also never great if you're like, do I think it would be good to let you cast something for free after you've drawn 3? That doesn't feel good.
Yeah, both choices feel pretty bad. I'd love to see this in action because it seems like a banger.
Moving on to a weird but cool board wipe, delete X red for a sorcery that says, delete deals X damage to each non-artifact creature in each player. I'm really liking the fact that we're getting all like this board wipe for non-artifacts in red because I'm usually used to non-artifact stuff being like blue and stuff.
Plus it's like an earthquake. Each player takes it, so you can use. By the way, you said it wrong. It's pronounced delete, and then you can like use it as a fireball to just kill everybody except you, ideally.
Yeah, I was like each player. I'm thinking about the fact that there's always going to be one person who has a lot less life than the others. You know, Commander. There's always one person who's at least down 10 life less than the rest of the table because whether it's them doing it or someone else doing it.
And usually that's me. I feel like I always point out that people are missing chip damage and then I get chip damage and I'm like,
right at you.
Whatever. You're welcome. This is the thanks I get. But yeah, delete, I think in artifact decks only, obviously. I think if you're rolling the dice in some random deck, it's already going to be a little bit of a bummer when you don't hit your opponent's artifact creatures, but when it's a one-sided wipe for you and maybe you leave 2 things in play, That's pretty sweet. Plus, it has the ability to finish people off.
I mean, how many artifact creatures are people running normally outside of dedicated artifact decks?
Well, when you leave their sad robot alive, you actually feel like a genius. You're like,
I'm the smartest man in the world.
I am the smartest man in the world. What is number 4?
Number 4 is Trenzalore Clock Tower, a blue legendary land that says if you tap it, you add blue, and you put a time counter on it. And if you pay 1 in a blue and tap it, and you remove 12 time counters from it and exile it, you shuffle your graveyard and hand into your library, draw 7, but only if you activate only if you control a Time Lord.
Yeah, I was really excited about this, and then I saw activate only if you control a Time Lord. But then I remembered the reason I was excited about it is just a better island. If you have Changelings in your deck, if you have a Time Lord in your deck, if you have a Time Lord as your commander for whatever reason, you just put this card in over an island. It's just a strict upgrade. So like some decks out there won't ever know this card existed because they're like, Doctor Who, whatever. And they're like, wait, what if you got better island?
It feels so good just to get a fresh hand, too. I mean, that's why we're playing Midnight Clock partially and that sort of thing.
This is way harder to trigger than Midnight Clock. That's the only thing. If you have Proliferate, I think that's definitely doable. I'm sure there's plenty of decks out there that have Proliferate synergies and a Changeling somewhere. That does not seem like a tough bar to clear.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of options for that, and I'm really excited to see this in action and see how people use it.
Honestly, though, this is just moving us in the step forward towards my ideal universe where every deck, including monocolor decks, are playing Field of the Dead. If you're in a 2-color deck with blue in it, it doesn't matter that this isn't an island unless you're somehow searching out all your basics every game, which is not going to happen. So put this in over an island because it'll trigger Field of the Dead more often.
As someone who doesn't love basic lands, and I don't actually play them that much, mostly because I play multiple colors in a lot of decks, I really like the strict upgrades to basics.
Yeah, screw you, basics. We don't need you anymore. It's 2023. All right, we got the top 3 cards. You probably expected to see this one somewhere, but it's number 3. It's Displaced Dinosaurs. 7 mana, 7/7. As a historic permanent enters the battlefield under your control, it becomes a 7/7 dinosaur creature in addition to its other types. If you make 3 food tokens, you're actually making 3 7/7s that have 2 tap, sacrifice this, gain 3 life.
That's so much power that you could put out instantly. I love the fact that it doesn't say cast, it just enters the battlefield. And even though they're susceptible to board wipes now, I think it's well worth the risk because of how much power you're just putting in so quickly.
Yeah, make 3 foods. Here's it's 28 total power. You can do that a lot of cases for like free. If you play Displaced Dinosaurs, you obviously have a plan. You're not just going to go play it, pass, hope it survives. You're going to play it, and then you're going to play a land or something like Fabled Passage, and you're going to trigger like Tireless Tracker or Tireless Provisioner right away for free, basically, and then you start pooping out 7/7s, and now it's kind of like a permanent threat to the game. If they don't answer it, they're going to eventually lose.
I want to see this in like an artifact land deck.
Oh, wow. You want your lands to be 7/7s?
Well, I mean, they're indestructible sometimes too. So.
Oh, I guess like Darksteel.
Yeah.
Darksteel Citadel. Wait a second. Also, yeah, beware of legendary lands. If you play legendary land after this, it's a 7/7 whether you like it or not. So just be careful.
That can get a little dangerous. But moving on to number 2 is actually Moxfield.com, the best place online to build a deck. It is amazing. You can put all of these cards in before they entered. Sometimes there's even going to be some Lost Cavern stuff a little bit earlier than it's actually released, and you can go buy them all on a cart.
It gives you the option to put the cards in the cart of whatever seller you choose, basically. Moxfield does it all. Redacted website doesn't do it all. It actually does very little. The website you're using, not Moxfield, not good.
And it even looks worse. Crusty, disgusting, Moxfield, sleek, cool, light mode, dark mode.
Futuristic, yeah, it has dark mode. Get on Moxfield.
But moving on to the real number 2 is Flesh Duplicate. It's a blue for 0/0 that says you can have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it has Vanishing 3 if that creature doesn't have Vanishing.
Which is likely.
Yeah, I can't really name another creature that does have Vanishing, but if you can add counters and do some Proliferate stuff, it can stick around for a really long time, and 2 mana is not a bad cost for that.
I don't look at this much different than Phantasmal Image. It's a 2 mana clone. You get the ETBs, you get the effects right away. Except you don't have whenever it becomes a target, it just accidentally dies. You get a guaranteed keep it around for like 3 turns. That's as long as I can hope to have a creature around anyway. I don't think that's that bad. I think this is going to be like... This is close with the number 1, I think. They're both really good, and blue players ate very well this set.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised considering in a couple sets ago they weren't eating very well, but this one, they got it.
They got it. They got better island. They got a clone that is on par or better than Phantasmal Image, and they got a really good removal spell that is going to annihilate commanders. It's Cyber Conversion. Blue, for instance, the number 1 card if you didn't know. Turn target creature face down. It's a 2/2 Cyberman artifact creature token. First of all, great art. Second of all, super flavorful if you watch Doctor Who. Third, it's the Kenris transformation of blue, baby. It's on par with Reality Shift anyway, except it keeps the card on the battlefield. So like their commander stuck on the battlefield, they can't choose to put it in the command zone instead of turn it face down. And if it's a creature that has like some kind of reanimation or they care about it a lot, it's still stuck in play as a stupid 2/2.
I love these effects. It's so much better to keep a commander trapped than it is to kill it. And even though that counts as commander damage, I mean, that doesn't matter. If they can't recast it, who cares? Also, the fact that it is blue to keep up, so you can bluff having a counter spell. And I really like the versatility.
Yeah, it seemed like this would have been a sorcery because the fact that I can hold up counter spells, draw spells, and this thing could just ruin someone's life, pretty sweet. I'm going to put Cyber Conversion in a few things. I hope it's a more budget card. I haven't looked at the price. It doesn't matter for this list, but I hope it's budget because I'm going to play this everywhere.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see this in action.
Yeah, do not sleep on this. This is potentially a blue staple. I would say it's a card I would jam in every like 3-color blue deck because it's blue, and you maybe just want to play Reality Shift at that point. But if you're not worried about blue pips, which is a lot of 2-color and 1-color blue decks, you should probably play Cyber Conversion. And if you're thinking, I need some more Doctor Who info, I need to know more about these cards, we did a ranking of your commander where you can see all the doctors and the companions ranked, which is right here. What's the fact of the day that we've been skipping lately?
The fact of the day is don't put sulfates in your shampoo.